What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rawthentic, episode number 2. And something really near and dear to my heart that I am actively experiencing now, and I felt it was very important to talk about. And that is the identity crisis and everything that comes with it that nobody talks about. So, one of the things that I've really been contemplating is all of the things that I said that I wanted in my life and whether or not I still want them, or if maybe the ways in which I wanted them have changed. So, rewinding back, right? Like, I was someone who was a very high achiever. I did great in school. I went to college. I got a degree. I kind of was under the impression that, like, I need to succeed and then get a really good job and then get promoted from that job and move up and get a house and, like those milestones of success that, like, everyone tells us you will have when you get them, right? And I've had many periods of my life where I have manifested or prayed and created something in my life, whether that be a career or where I was living or what I had materially, that I was like, man, I have been wanting all these things and I have them now, but I still don't feel that, like, feeling that I thought I would feel. And there's like that identity crisis of like, well, hold on a second. Like, is this really like what I want? Or maybe I was working towards something. Like, for me, I was working in a job in the beer industry, and at one point in my life, like, I was super into craft beer. I was super into going to breweries and going to beer festivals, and like, having a job working for a brewery was like, oh my gosh, this is the dream. I want to work up this ladder. I want to be, a key account manager or like someone really high up. And then in the middle of it, I'm like, I don't know if I still want this, because along the way, I had grown and changed significantly. In that period of having that job, I developed an intolerance to alcohol. I realized, alcohol wasn't really serving me, in general, health or just like mindset wise. I got more into health and fitness and personal growth. And then it was like that shit, like, this is what I saw my career path as. Like, what do I do now? There was that identity crisis. And that is what first led me into getting into coaching, because I realized that, like, my true passion was helping people, was figuring out, where we are blocking ourselves in our lives and what in our lives that we've experienced have shaped us into a person that we are that maybe isn't what we want to be or where we want to be, but actually has been formed by society, our peers, our parents, or what is like perceived as successful. And something that people don't talk about is how much your world around you and internally just completely crumbles. It's like, well, shit, like, this is everything I've been working towards, and now what? Like, now I don't even know what it is that I want to do. For me, I had a direction, but then that direction led me to 3 years of doing coaching and working, remotely and online, to realizing, oh shit, like, I actually need to be around people. Like, I don't want to do this just thing by myself, which, again, we set these goals of where we want to be based on who we are in that moment. So when I was leaving my job back in 2021, my dream was to work for myself, to have this freedom to come and go when I wanted, make my own schedule, have autonomy, make uncapped income, right? Fast forward, getting into that, I realized, oh, I really value, like, collaboration, teamwork, like working towards a common goal, connecting with people, like not being behind my computer all day and like just virtually connecting, like actually being in person with people. And so it's like I worked all of that, worked through all of that, and then arrived at a very similar place in that career where I was like, well, I have everything that I said I wanted and I'm still not happy. Like, what's going on? And that's because my identity was being broken down again. And it's really happened, like it's happening for me again now. And it's really just recognizing that we are going to evolve and grow and change so many times in our life. And what we were first motivated by is going to be different later on down the line in our life. So, for example, when I first started my professional career, I was very money driven. Like that was my motivator, was like the achieving, the striving, the status and the money. And then it was, I actually want more of the flexibility, like to be able to like travel and to have the autonomy again to make my own schedule. And then it shifted again, and it's just an ever evolving thing that I'm still, recognizing that I have some old patterns of identity that are no longer me, but I'm in this just pattern of this is what I've known to be, this is what I've known to do. And it's almost hard to break out of that. And that's what people don't talk about is as you're going through each of these identity breakdowns and realizing this isn't actually what motivates me anymore. Or I thought I wanted this, but I actually don't. Or maybe it's not as fulfilling as I once thought it would be. Those times are really confusing. And they can be really, I guess confusing would be the perfect word. It's like, okay, now I'm back to the drawing board, which is also beautiful because these are the times where most people I've found, they get comfortable with one job or one way of doing things because that's all they've known. And they'll stay in that and be miserable because they don't have the courage to really ask themselves, am I still in alignment with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it? Or am I still motivated by the things that I was 2, 5, 10 years ago? And if I'm not, well, what does motivate me now? What does freedom look like to me? What does flexibility mean to me now? As I reflect back, freedom to me was like, I have all this money and I have all this time and I can do whatever I want. And it's really interesting because, again, I've now created that. And I'm like, I still have this like anxiety and this like unsettled feeling in my body. Why? And it's because I'm still shedding parts of that identity of that, the striving, the like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like, I got to do more. I got to do more. I got to do more, and like, it's never enough. And so now freedom to me is living without grasping. And I guess I invite you to like also ask yourself, like, what does freedom mean to you? Because what we value in our lives and what we desire to have different meanings for everybody. Freedom to me now means living without grasping. Freedom to you could mean I can work from wherever I want, or I can, make up whatever I want, whether it be your job and your creative expression. And so what's really important in this, like, each time we go through this identity crisis is really just to take like inventory and really ask yourself, like, is what I'm doing in my life still working? Or did the parameters that I set or the routine or the goals that I set serve the older version of me, but the person that I am now and what I value more now, maybe it doesn't align. And maybe that's why you're feeling that like stuck energy, the anxiousness, the exhaustion. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. Like, I know I'm out of alignment when not only do I feel it like physically, like here in my body, in like my upper abdomen, but I'm freaking exhausted all the time. And it's like just an indicator to ask yourself, like, what is not working? And what can I do to get myself back into alignment? And those questions I think are good starters. You know, where am I feeling like maybe my goals and the things that I've wanted to get towards maybe don't really matter to me anymore. Maybe it matters now that you spend more time with your family and it's not about the dollar amount that you make, right? Or maybe it's you creatively express yourself versus, worrying about it needing to be structured. Like I need to create a certain amount of things, but how about just like creating and flow? So, yeah, I just think that the identity, death, and rebirth is such a confusing but beautiful time because it gives you an opportunity to just start new, to start creating a new life for yourself and not feeling like you have to stay where you are. And also, you know, getting comfortable, as uncomfortable as it is, of like letting go of those patterns and things that you were doing based in the person that you used to be that are not you anymore. And learning to trust yourself again. I think this is huge, like being able to tune into your intuition. And I mean, you definitely know if something is not working and you're not enjoying what you're doing anymore. Like that's a knowing in your body. And if you don't know, then maybe it's time to slow down a little bit so that you can get back in touch with what that feels like. But yeah, just learning to trust yourself and, not be afraid to begin again, even if it feels like you don't know what the next thing is that you're trying to create, whether that's, where you're living, where you're working, what you're creating, what you're sharing, what your routines are, maybe the people that you surround yourself with, all of those things, as you go through these identity upgrades, like you shed friendships, you go through periods of like, I know there was a period in my life where my identity and everything I did was around, going out and drinking and, just, yeah, doing that. And, when I stopped doing that, it was like, oh crap, like all the friends I have, that's all that they do. And I'm getting into personal growth and sobriety, and I don't really know anybody that's doing that. So, I think another thing that people don't talk about is the path of that can be lonely. It's you trying to rediscover what, that next chapter is for you. And not every person or situation will go with you, and having to like reinvent yourself almost each step of the way. So yeah, I'm currently in a huge identity upgrade in this present moment. I'm in a job that it provides, like I said, the lifestyle and flexibility and my old definition of freedom. But in the day to day, it feels misaligned. So I'm having to ask myself those hard questions of like, is this something that, my values are still aligned with? And in real time, I'm discovering those every day. So I invite you to ask yourself, like, if you feel like you are in an identity upgrade, or you're in a season of winter, as I would say, of like death and rebirth, what do you feel like in your life currently is maybe aligned with the person that you were, but not aligned with the person that you're becoming? What are some things that you want to move into? And what do you have to let go of in order to meet your future self? right? Because in life, at least for me, I'm someone that prioritizes personal growth. I always want to be striving towards the next best version of myself that I can be. And when I visualize that version of myself, there are a lot of habits and ways of thinking and beliefs and patterns that that person that I'm striving towards does not have. And it's the gap of where I'm at now and where I want to be. In the middle is that identity shift, but I invite you to ask yourself, like, what are those things that when you see yourself in the future that you want to grow into? What habits and mindset patterns and beliefs do they have that you don't have currently? And how can you start to make those changes and get more into alignment with the person that you want to become? So, yeah, looking forward to continuing to ask myself those same questions. And, if these really ignited something into you, or if any of this is, making you start thinking, great. If there's something that I said here that you feel like resonated, that you feel like someone else needs to hear, I invite you to share this episode with them and let me know, connect with me and let me know if you're currently in an identity shift or upgrade and in a season of winter where you're shedding and needing to let go of some things that maybe are not serving that next version of you. Looking forward to hearing from you.